Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday morning. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Trash Talk. It's where
I'm
else where
here.
else would anybody want to be on a Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock than with us?
I'd want to be in bed.
All right, well, that's a close second.
I mean, but the thing is, people don't realize like you can watch it on YouTube on your TV while you lay in bed.
That's right. That's right. And we're always there on YouTube. So even if
Yeah.
you have to wait until Wednesday, we're still going to
Oh,
be there for you.
yeah. We are always in your bedroom.
That's
Yeah. Welcome.
kind of a follow-up to last week's show, you
Yes.
know.
And I'm still drinking out of my cup, my skull cup. This is the last supper. The Halloween decorations are coming down. And
But you're getting
anyway, we're
ready,
here.
but you're about ready to trade in your pumpkin lattes for your Oktoberfest beers, right?
Oktoberfest is over, my friend.
Well, that's right. No,
It's November, dude.
I'm thinking the Thanksgiving stuff.
Yeah, so I will transition. Pumpkin will go till about the middle of the month, and then I'll start to put. Even though you do pumpkin pies around Thanksgiving and all that, my pumpkin beers will dissipate. We're going into stout season. Nice stouts. Give me a good barrel aged stout. 15% alcohol. Smells like whiskey. Let's do it. But then
Gets
I
to
take a big
chill
time
off
out.
from the air.
Yeah, well, you could just sip on it, and then I chill off. I drink some wine, but typically come like by Christmas. Man, my technical difficulties today are ridiculous. Um, but typically by Christmas, I'm really not drinking anymore, and then I go for a very long hiatus. So, because I just random on a Tuesday will be like, you know what, I need to drink this 12% pumpkin beer, so
Look, somebody's got to try it. Somebody's
I,
got to
yeah,
rate it. Somebody's got to do a little blurb on the social media about it, which you
it's a
do.
hard job. It's a hard job.
Very often on your show, you'll show a bottle or a can or something of something really different and unusual.
Yeah, so I take a time out, but there we are. So what do we got today? I see a lot of question marks going on. I am
Well,
not ready for questions.
yeah, I was thinking about the probably one of the most asked words from kids, especially, is why.
Oh
And
yeah.
actually, Luke is about the age that's prime for that. They say right around 4 to 5 years old.
About
Well, that they
Kid's
start
been doing it
they
for 2 years.
yeah they get very inquisitive about stuff, and as they get older, they may ask, why does this happen? And you give them the answer and they say, oh, okay, thanks. But little kids are not satisfied with any answer that you give them. And
No.
one of the most asked ones is, why is the sky blue?
Mm.
Uh, well, it was God's favorite color or something. Or, if you want to get technical with a kid, you might say, well, it's because the warm gases rise
Yeah.
and then they crystallize, and the moisture comes down and it forms the clouds. And you will never see a 3, 4, 5 year old kid satisfied with that answer, because the comeback is, why?
It's amazing to me too, and I know why they do it. I mean, their brains are still a sponge. They are still learning. They are still processing, and they can't process some of those answers. I have an enormous amount of patience with kids. I always have. People, I don't at
Yeah.
all, because I just don't. I can't. And even though I don't like repeating myself, and there are several occasions with Luke, I'm like, bro, I'm not. I'm not saying it again. I said it 3 times. I can't say it any other way. This is
Yeah.
what it is. Talk to your teacher. But for the most part, I get it. Like they're processing stuff. Like I think the biggest thing for me is at night, you know, with kids, scheduling and routine is so important. And if you break that, you're about to have a really rough morning. Um, so with Luke, and I guess it's just like anybody else, your minds start wandering at night and start thinking of stuff. But this dude will read a book. We're reading a story. I give him a kiss, give him a hug, tell him goodnight. I'll see him in the morning. I'm walking out the room. I don't even make it like one step. Hey, Dad. And I'm like, here we go. Yeah, bud, what's up? So I was thinking, why can I see the moon sometimes and the sun sometimes when the moon is only at night? So, I go through that explanation and it's fine
Right.
for him to answer. He's learning. Oh, okay. But what about the rest of the planets? And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go Bill Nye Science guy over here. And it's 9 o'clock at night, buddy. And he just dives in further. It's one layer, it's another layer, it's another layer.
Well, do you sometimes think that maybe it's a stall tactic? I'm not
I
ready
don't
to go
know,
to
man.
sleep, so I'll keep asking why, so that you'll
Sometimes,
keep telling
yeah.
me.
Sometimes I think it is.
Yeah.
I can't speak for every kid. Sometimes I think it is with him. I think very few times I think he's just curious, because I got to be honest with you, since he's gone full time to school, him going to sleep really isn't an issue. I mean, he's told me times, Dad, we're gonna finish this movie tomorrow. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it's right on cue, right on schedule, 8:30. Let's go. But I really think it's just your mind. I mean, think about when you go to bed, your mind opens up and you start going, oh, I got to do this tomorrow, and then I got to do this. I should do this. Or you start thinking about random crap,
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes the kids will also say, why do I need to go to bed so early when you and mommy get to stay up later?
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard
and
that.
whatever your answer is, it's going to be, but why?
Yeah.
I mean, my thought was, because we want you to go to sleep so we can have a little bit of a life too.
Yeah, and I've heard, why can you watch this and I can't, and I've gotten, well, there's a lot of bad words. Oh, I hear bad words. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but there's adult content. There's things that you just don't need to see. And I'll deep dive. I'll be like, because your mind can't handle it yet.
Yeah.
Even though
But
it
why?
might be fake. Yeah, but why? And I'm like, because you're 6. But why? Well, because I made you 6 years ago. That's the end of the conversation.
Right. Right. But why?
Right. I don't know why I made you.
and that's, you get almost to that point of frustration. And they say it very often. There's a guy that wrote in and said, my kid, I would take him to school and they would get into this discussion. Why? By the time I dropped the kid off, I was so ready to hit that coffee shop to get my, double spiked espresso and all to kind of come back to reality.
It's wild. It is. And there are sometimes, I mean, I am not the epitome of patience every day with him. I have my moments. Usually I just have to stop for a second and catch myself, but yeah, I mean, there's some, and the other thing too, it's the level of questions, man. We get deep one night and we were laying in bed watching a movie. He didn't have school and he's like talking about death and like, what happens. And I'm like, dude, I am too not ready for this.
Yeah. What happens to my fish when it dies?
Right. Now it gets worse, well, when our kitty cat dies. And I'm like, bro, he's like, I'm going to miss him. I'm like, can we just enjoy the fact that he's here now? Like, I am not ready because I'm old and I feel old sometimes. So I'm not ready to talk about this, but he really gets, into it, man.
I don't know why, but going way back, I remember having a conversation with my son and he wanted to know if worms had mouths. And
you're like,
I'm trying to think back to biology and physics, and
they do.
And well,
don't they have a bunch of them?
I don't know, if I don't even remember if they have, but his follow-up question, well, if they don't have mouths, how do they eat? And again, I'm fighting for, do I don't know the answer, so I've got to make up a good one.
And Google wasn't around back then.
Right. So, well, let's go the easy route. Yeah, they do have mouths, but they
so
eat
small.
very, very little, Well, what do they eat?
dirt,
you,
biodegrading flesh.
anything they want, and then they start with well, how do they move if they don't have feet?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're the part of you say, come on, can't we go on to something else? Just drink your
Right.
milk and eat your cereal or
I'm
something.
getting onto the well, I was watching a video on anacondas the other night because I'm fascinated, and and also just what they've just recently discovered. I'm like, oh, we're screwed. We need to just stay out of the Amazon, and we need to stay out of the Everglades. Because there are but anyway, and I watched this giant anaconda that's as thick as me, and I watched it zip through the water and then zip onto land, and it's this big giant long body, and I'm like, how do they do that? They don't have legs, And then I'm like, I understand snakes and the structure, but I'm still fascinated by this giant anaconda zipping around like it's the Road Runner, and I'm like, how did it? And I'm
yeah, and I always wondered, don't if they're going to move that fast across gravel and roadways, how come they don't
rip?
chafe their stomachs?
I think that's why that's part of the reason why they shed their skin a lot.
Yeah, I would think I would sure shed my skin,
but it's thick, like on those bigger snakes. And I know you love snakes. So
absolutely. God, can't wait to get a pet. Shoot. But another kid one is where do the stars come from? How are the planets made? Well, now that kind of goes back to, you start to think back, geez, I never thought I'd ever use anything I learned in school about science and all, but hey, here I am.
Here it is. Yeah, here I am explaining it.
So
I'm explaining the eclipse to my son, the most recent eclipse,
there was this explosion and all these particles went out into the, but again, it's usually followed up by another why. Well, it goes back to the gases and the winds and all, and are there other people on other planets?
We talked about that too. He asked me if aliens were real.
That's a good one, because that one is one that you almost kind of wing it on your own.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of just you can just be like, well, probably, but we don't know because we can't get there. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, why can't we get there?
Right, because we are wasting our time going to the moon. Ain't nothing there. We just keep going back to the moon because it's there.
That's right.
We're just waiting for Elon Musk. He's the only guy that wants to go somewhere else. NASA's sitting here doing nothing. Well, we sent a satellite out there and we don't know where it is. Great. There's $50 quadrillion.
That's right.
We got a sample of an asteroid finally. It is 2023 and you just now got a sample of an asteroid? What are you doing? You guys it's like NASA's the most overrated, overpaid branch of the United States of America.
And the follow-up question is, what have they done lately?
Nothing. I remember who said it.
I think that's why they sent some probe out there 3 million miles, because now they just go in, clock in every day, and let's see, where's the probe today? Oh, okay.
My favorite is when they send like the not Land Rover, but the little drone robot Wall-E thing to Mars, and they're like driving it around and it's collecting samples, and they're like, well, it ran out of battery life and power, so
and all those samples that we wanted are still up there.
Right. And I'm like, it's bad enough we're making our Earth look like this. Now you're going to other planets and trashing them. You're just dropping crap on there. Like, no wonder aliens are pissed off. You're like, dude, your robot just crashed into my rock garden, man. Like, ridiculous. NASA is awful.
Well, there's also questions about where the dinosaurs went from kids and all, but what
that's most easy one.
What the most asked question is from kids? Where do babies come from?
Tell me about it. Yeah, I know.
And what the number one
had that conversation.
You know what the number one answer is? Go ask your mother.
Yeah, I don't do that, but we've dived into it.
Yeah.
And I've said,
And
mommy
it's
and
a
daddy,
slippery slope.
mommy, daddy, God, this. Well, I know you guys were made me, but how? And I'm like, well, science. You were
Yes.
science. Yeah, in a lab, in a beaker in the kitchen.
Yeah. And the worst thing you can do is to make up some bogus
No,
story.
you have to be
Because,
careful.
yeah, right. Because when the
And
kid
you
gets,
can't just be like, well, when two people love each other, because it's like, what, you just love somebody and all of a sudden a baby pops out? I mean, well, yeah, kind of, but
right. Yeah. Well, there's a seed in mommy's stomach and all, and it grows, and you think,
right.
well, oh, you mean like the plant that we have out on the front
Yeah.
porch?
Yeah, you mean like the basil plant? My favorite is Luke's like, yeah, I got so big, I just had to come out of mama's tummy. I'm like, that's actually really true, buddy. Like,
Right.
you were huge. I
Well,
just told him the other day that he's drinking dinosaurs.
the
And he
what?
said, what? I told him the other day that essentially he's drinking dinosaur pee. And he's like, what? And I said, every water, if you don't believe me, if you Google it, most of the water that we drink is traced all the way back, whether it's spring fed, that back to the dinosaur days, because there wasn't nearly as much water at the time. Dinosaurs
Right.
drank it. Where do you think it went? They died. Breakdown, go into chemistry, and we're drinking dinosaurs. So there you go. Dinosaur pee.
So when you go out and walk
Doing
in
it now.
and when you walk in the creeks with with Luke, he says, "Oh, Dad, are there
Yeah.
dinosaurs down here?"
There's a T-Rex peeing over here, but like, but that's what it is. I mean, somebody didn't believe me. I was like, Google it. There, I mean, like, I'm not saying that every drop of water, but I'm saying, like, if you think about it and if you go back in history and you know your cycles of breakdown and all this, and the oil in your car is a brontosaurus.
When, yeah, when the dinosaurs got all dirty and everything, where did they go to clean off?
Yeah.
They
You don't
went,
think yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway,
but
he didn't
why?
like the answer.
But why?
Right.
Well, we well, thanks for watching us anyway. And every week when we come on, we pick a subject, and there's inevitably there's somebody that says, but why? Why did you
Yeah.
pick that subject?
Sometimes I say it. So
I do too. We look at each other and we say, well, why did we do that?
exactly.
Because it was there. And go sit down and finish your cereal. Make it a good one. Come back and see us again next Tuesday.
See you
But
guys.
why?